Imagine this. You're looking at a country's legal code for online gambling, and you find nothing. It's not illegal, but, well, it's not legal either. It's just undefined.
It's a regulatory black hole.
Exactly. And for a global operator, that might sound like, an open door. But in the case of the Pacific nation of Kiribati, that open door is actually a trap.
It's the ultimate gray zone. And understanding why that ambiguity exists and, more importantly, what the real-world barriers are is just critical if you want to avoid a massive financial mistake.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here to do. We are the Gambling Databases Research Team, a group dedicated to delivering in-depth analyses of the global iGaming landscape.
In each country-specific report, we explore key aspects such as local regulations, taxation, player experience, operator conditions, and emerging trends.
Our goal is to provide a clear, data-driven understanding of how the gambling industry functions within each market and what makes it unique.
And today, our focus is entirely on Kiribati. We're looking at a market that is, like you said, a regulatory gray zone, but one with extremely low potential.
So our mission today is really to uncover the structural, the economic, and the infrastructural hurdles that make this tiny nation a fascinating case study, but a practically unviable target for most companies.
Right.
Okay, so let's unpack that legal situation first. This undefined status it's a really interesting place to start. The source material is clear. There are 0 specific laws for online gambling. It's a total vacuum.
And the land-based gambling that exists is minimal. It's all governed by these old sort of general laws that were written long before anyone had even thought of the internet.
So here's the paradox then. An ambitious operator sees this gap and thinks, great, a shortcut. But you're saying it's actually a critical risk.
A huge risk. Because with no specific iGaming laws, there is no path to getting a local license. And if you don't have a local license, you have no legal protection, no certainty, nothing.
So if I'm a big, say, European gaming company, I'm just operating there based on my Maltese or maybe my Curacao license and just hoping for the best.
You're just hoping Kiribati doesn't wake up one day and decide to change its mind. And that's a big risk because that change could be driven by outside pressure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Kiribati is heavily reliant on foreign aid, especially from its bigger neighbors. So it's highly vulnerable to a sudden ban that's pushed on them by Australia or New Zealand, who are always trying to crack down on unauthorized offshore operators in the region.
That makes perfect sense. It completely undermines any idea of long-term stability. But if the law is a void, does that at least mean they can't tax you?
Well, that's where it gets deceptively simple. On the tax side, you're right. The sources confirm there is no specific gross gaming revenue tax.
No GGR tax. For anyone listening, that's the main tax on an operator's revenue. That's a huge incentive.
It is on the surface. An operator would only face the standard corporate income tax, which is about 17.5%. And that's only if they decided to incorporate locally, which, let's be honest, they probably wouldn't.
And for the player?
0 tax on winnings. So from a player's perspective, it's very simple.
Okay, but what about player protection? If Kiribati isn't regulating anything, who's making sure the games are fair or that people get paid?
Nobody locally. That's the compliance gap. There are no locally mandated responsible gambling tools, no self-exclusion, no robust KYC or AML checks required by Kiribati law.
So it all falls back on the standards of the offshore license.
Entirely. If an operator based in Curacao refuses to pay out a player in Kiribati, that player has absolutely no legal recourse inside their own country. All the risk is pushed onto the consumer.
Wow. So the regulatory void means a low-cost entry, but it comes with this massive, unstable legal risk for the operator and basically 0 protection for the player.
Exactly.
Which brings us to our next point, because honestly, the legal risk is almost irrelevant when you look at the physical reality of the market. This is where it all just hits a wall.
A brick wall. The economic fundamentals here are just so restrictive. Kiribati is what you'd call a micro market. We're talking about a population of maybe 130,000 people in 2025.
That's smaller than a lot of towns. And the wealth just isn't there. The GDP is tiny, around $0.3 billion US, and per capita GDP is only, $2,300?
That low disposable income is the first major hurdle. It just means low stakes play. But the fatal flaw, the thing that makes modern iGaming almost impossible, is the infrastructure.
Right. Let's dig into that. What are we talking about, digitally speaking?
We're talking about connectivity. Internet penetration is only around 58, maybe 59%, and it's almost all mobile. But the key stat is the speed. Average mobile internet speeds are between 10 and 20 megabits per second, and the latency, the delay, is very high.
So 10 to 20 Mbps, I mean, for context, you can browse a website with that, maybe stream a video in standard definition if you're lucky. But for iGaming,
Yeah.
that's a killer.
It's the death knell, 100%. Think about live dealer casino games. They need a constant high-def video stream with almost zero latency. At these speeds, those games, which are a huge revenue driver everywhere else, are completely unplayable for most people.
Even modern slots with all their graphics would struggle.
They'd struggle to load, yeah. So an operator has to totally compromise their product. They have to build something mobile first, very low bandwidth. They lose their most profitable games before they even launch.
And what about getting money in and out? The payments.
Another huge friction point. Credit card penetration is basically zero.
So how do people deposit?
Cash. And local mobile money services, things like K-Express and T-Cash.
Yeah.
So now imagine the friction. A player has to go load cash onto their mobile wallet,
Right.
and then the international offshore operator has to figure out how to integrate with that local system to get the money out. It's a logistical nightmare. The instant, smooth process we expect just doesn't exist.
And all of this shapes how people play, I assume.
Of course. You see low-stakes behavior, very short sessions, 20, maybe 30 minutes at a time, probably in the evening when the connection is a bit better. The whole market forces you to compromise at every single step.
Which feels like a perfect transition to the viability assessment. Let's talk numbers. What is the actual revenue potential here that justifies all this trouble?
Well, this is where the story gets really stark. The estimated total addressable market, so the absolute maximum revenue for the whole country, is projected at $1.5 million US in 2025.
1.5 million. That's tiny.
It's tiny. Now, the projection shows it growing to maybe 7.8 million by 2030, which is a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 36%.
Wait, hold on. 36% CAGR. That's huge. That's the kind of growth investors dream about.
It sounds huge, but you have to look at the starting number. A 36% growth on a $1.5 million market is still not much. To put that in perspective, a single mid-sized operator can generate more than that in 1 month in a small, regulated European market.
Okay, that context is everything. The percentage is high, but the scale is microscopic.
Precisely. And look at the average revenue per user, the ARPU. It's just $125 a year.
125.
In mature markets, that number can be 10, even 20 times higher. A revenue ceiling that low just makes it impossible to justify any real investment.
I see the trade-off now. The cost to get in seems low, maybe $50,000 to $100,000 for some localization. But the ongoing cost of managing the legal risk, the payment friction, building a custom low-tech platform, it just wipes out any potential profit.
The operational overhead completely swallows the revenue ceiling. It doesn't pass a basic cost-benefit analysis for any serious company.
So let's look at the official gambling database's rating. The operator ease score is a 3.2 out of 10. Difficult. What's driving that low score?
It's almost all those structural barriers, no local licensing framework, and just the profound infrastructure and payment problems.
Which leads to the overall market attractiveness rating of 3.5 out of 10. Low potential, high uncertainty.
That sums it up perfectly.
So let's get to the final verdict. Based on everything we've talked about, who should absolutely run away from Kiribati, and is there anyone at all, who should even consider it?
Okay, so you should definitely avoid this market if you're a publicly listed company. The regulatory ambiguity is a compliance nightmare.
Makes sense.
Live casino operators should stay away. Your product literally won't work. And if your business relies on credit cards or standard e-wallets, just forget it.
That's 99% of the industry right there.
Pretty much. The only ones who might find some tiny bit of value are maybe specialized crypto casinos. They can bypass the financial system and their games are often super lightweight. Or, and this is the other exception, an operator running a Pan-Pacific strategy.
Can you break that down for us? What's a Pan-Pacific strategy?
It means you build one single, highly optimized tech platform designed to aggregate tiny little profit margins from 10 or 15 different micro markets across the Pacific.
So you bundle Kiribati with, say, Tuvalu and Solomon Islands?
Exactly. Only by combining all those tiny revenue streams together can you possibly justify the cost of building the infrastructure for the region. But for almost anyone else, it's all pain, no gain.
That's such a clear lesson in market analysis. Kiribati really shows why legal possibility means nothing without economic and structural viability. You can legally operate there with an offshore license, but why would you?
And that's the big takeaway. The next time you see a report with a huge growth forecast like that 36% CAGR, always check the starting number and the underlying infrastructure. Because not all growth is profitable growth.
A fantastic and very clear insight into a market most of us never even think about. Thanks for breaking it all down.
My pleasure.
For the full text of this and other country reports, visit our website at gamblingdatabases.com.